Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Funnel Trade. So as I said in the Magic Market Walk video, we were going to be dividing these into separate videos for Pokemon, given that there are just so many products that are worth talking about. So here we are, the monthly Pokemon Market Walk for September, and starting out way back at the beginning of Sword and Shield, golly, about 5.5, 6 years ago now. Sword and Shield base set, $637. And there's a theme you're going to see going through all of these, which is the recent parabolic performance. Now, this one is selling slow enough that, well, it's not showing exactly the same parabolic performance, but man, only 21 left in the market right now. Let's go back a year on this. Where were we a year ago? 310. So it has doubled in the last year. And, for a long time, Sword and Shield base and Rebel Clash both were just very unpopular products. And I remember picking up a couple of boxes of each. I want to say it was Black Friday 2023, and I got them in like the low 200s or something. So 280, sorry, $485 for Rebel Clash boxes today. And we see this big jump up in about the last 6 weeks from 335 to 485. So 335 at the market price back then and 485 for the lowest ask today. So about $150 of movement, maybe a 40-ish% increase if you actually got the calculator out on that. A 40% increase in the last 6 weeks. Darkness Ablaze, $350. One of the kind of next tier of unloved Sword and Shield boxes. For a long time, this was stuck in the print to oblivion era and just way too many boxes. It took a long time to get moving, but we see 6 weeks ago we were looking at $250 market price, and today 350 for the lowest ask. And again, what you'll see on things like this when the price is moving very fast, today's current market price is only $300, but the lowest ask is 350 because that market price is a trailing average of about the last 50 sales. So if there aren't many sales because the market depth is very thin, then the price can move very quickly with each subsequent sale, but the market price calculation cannot keep up with it. And so that's why you see the big difference when you're having big moves to the upside. You'll see it this way. And if there are big moves to the downside, like we would commonly see in 2021 and 2022, then you'll have the market price being way higher than the current lowest ask price. But nonetheless, 250 about 6 weeks ago, 350 today. So again, another 40% increase in the last approximately 6 weeks. Vivid Voltage, this was one of the last ones to go out of stock from Pokemon Center website earlier this year. I want to say it was February or maybe early March. These last couple went out of stock. Of course, Battle Styles was the very last one. This was the next to last one, which is amazing considering this is Sword and Shield '04. $262 today. And you see this very nice consistent action over the last 3 months. 6 weeks ago at 220, today at 260. So not a lot of fast movement on this one, but again, one of the very last ones to go out of stock on Pokemon Center. So there's still more of this left in the world today than a lot of the later boxes. I still think this will probably take some bigger movements, say the next 6 month rate of return on this product will probably be greater than the last 6 months rate of return. If we zoom out enough to see the entire year, yeah, you see the MSRP price on Pokemon Center was holding this down, very gently holding it down. The MSRP for Sword and Shield era boxes on Pokemon Center was only $144. And so you see it held it down until it went out of stock, and then the market could really start responding because it did not have that cheaper alternative to supply boxes at. Battle Styles, if you realize this has jumped to $320, and just in the last 6 weeks, it was $200 6 weeks ago, and today it's 320. So yeah, a 60% increase in the last 6 weeks. You see a theme here on the parabolic moves that these products have been making, and as I always try to emphasize to people, do not discount these markets. Do not think that this cannot happen or this is not how markets are meant to be or any nonsense like that. These are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun every day. There are fewer of these left in existence than there were the day before, once they're out of print. But of course, all of Sword and Shield has been out of print for a year or more now, depending on which particular product. And so, yes, we do expect these kind of quick movements. 61 boxes in the market today, 122 sold in the last month. So at this last month's sale through rate, we only have 2 weeks of supply left in the market today. Feels good. Chilling Rain, $580. And my recollection, yeah, this had couple little stutters, a couple little sideways motions. But as we get in here to the last 6 weeks, it was 420 and today it is 580. Wow. Wow. $160 movement in the last 6 weeks. So nearly 33-ish percent up, closer to 30% up in the last 6 weeks. Evolving Skies, please, 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 if you do not want to be humbled by these markets, do not ever make any predictions on what Evolving Skies will or won't do because, man, it'll leave you looking foolish. And 6 weeks ago, this was a $2,100 box, and today, 2,700. Let's go back a year. You want to try at the missed opportunity? Let's go back a year. A year ago, this was a $700 box, so it has quadrupled in the last year. What price would this be if it quadrupled again from here? Golly, that'd be close to $10,000 a box. Please don't make any predictions on this. Golly. What an amazing product. What amazing price action. And, if there really were just closets and closets full of this stuff, well, it would be coming out to the market faster than this. Fusion Strike. This is one of the most feel-good products for Final Trades history. I first started buying this at $88.50 in late 21 or early 22 when the Pokemon market was absolutely in the dumps. Today, $1,055. And 6 weeks ago, 720 bucks. So this is another one, nearly 50% increase in the last 3 weeks. Now, look, guys, when products run up this high, this fast, when you see this kind of consistent 30, 40, 50% price increase in 6 weeks, yeah, we expect after that happens for a lot of people to sit there and say, you mean I've been rewarded an additional 50% for holding merely the last 3 weeks? And for a lot of people to decide that that's a good time to bring some boxes out of the closet, put them on the market, lock in those profits. So, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable if we watch this go sideways for a couple of months after we've seen these kind of huge, huge movements. Gasp, the price might actually come down a little bit. This might give up 100, 150, maybe even $200, but realize again, there are way, 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 way too few boxes of this left in the world for the price to be suppressed on the long timeline. These are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun. Remember that all the time when you're thinking about what you expect the prices of these to do in the future. Gosh, it feels good to see the second Sword and Shield era box break over $1,000. We might get one more. Actually, I think we might already have one more. We'll get there. But we could see an additional long shot make it before the end of 2025. Brilliant Stars, Sword and Shield '09, $540. 6 weeks ago, 400 bucks. So 130, 140 bucks, another 30% gainer in the last 6 weeks. And remember, some of this, yeah, it's crypto bro money, yeah, it's wealth halo effect and things like that, but it's also that these are old products that are still in incredible demand. People still love these products, and when they get their hands on them, they love to destroy them, and the amount of them left in the world just is not high enough. Only 70 of these left in the market today, and how many? 60 sold in the last month. So it's still a very, very bright future ahead of this product. Astral Radiance, a mere $410. And you'd have to go back to Vivid Voltage and Battle Styles to have ones performing this poorly to have prices this low. But remember, this is a much newer product than Vivid Voltage and Battle Style. So really, the fact that it's $100 ahead means this is an even better performer. And look at this, it actually came down a little bit. So it was 408 at the market price 3 months ago. It came all the way down to 365, and the lowest ask is back up to 410 today. So, we would call that a market adjustment. We would call that maybe someone bringing a lot of boxes to market or something else happening. Or, when you zoom out to the 6 month, you see it took a parabolic move in May and then it gave back a little. It went sideways and trended even gasp, like I said a minute ago, downwards. I had a little bit to consolidate, to burn down a little more inventory from the market, and now it's on the way back up. And some people will look at this, some Timmies will say, "Oh man, you dropped all the way from 412 to 366. Oh, this is a horrible product." And they just kind of don't have the sense to look and say yes. And that was right after we spiked up from 265. And today it's at 405. People have to keep this in perspective of where we bought these products, where we're coming from, and what kind of compound annual growth rates we see on Pokemon on the long term. Lost Origin boxes, $800. A little over 6 weeks ago, they were 500. 60% return in the last 6 weeks. Guys, these are wild times. These are wild, wild, wild times. I'm almost I'm almost terrified for what will happen to these prices if the Fed comes through with a half point rate cut in a couple weeks. I'm almost terrified to see what will happen as the stock market ramps up, as crypto ramps back up, as that wealth halo effect just glows star hot for everyone, and people decide now's the time to trade in some Bitcoin for Pokemon. Now's some time to sell some stock and buy some boxes to rip. Man, I am almost terrified for what this could do to the prices. And boy, I'm grinning ear to ear here as I say I'm almost terrified. Finally, Sword and Shield number 12. So 6 weeks ago, we were looking at 370, we'll call it. And today, once you get past the partial boxes and the composite boxes, we're at about 470. So up $100. What's that about? 2/7. That comes to about 28%. So a mere 28% gain in about the last 6 weeks. And a little more of this left in the market. It got some heavy reprinting late in its life. It was the third to last box to go out of stock on Pokemon Center website. And so you expect it to lag behind a little bit for a while. But again, less of this exists in the world every day than the day before. These are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun. And man, I am so excited for the future. So now we'll get into the Scarlet and Violet era products. And these first couple of ones here, we can reasonably expect that if there are further reprints of them, they won't be that big because these are some older products. They're kind of beyond their supported life at this point. I did a sale last week, I believe, for my patrons on the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes and had, I was a little surprised. I expected the demand to be faster and heavier. It was a little slower and drawn out before it went through, but I was expecting it to be a little quicker and more violent. Let's say that. I still sold as many boxes as I wanted to, though. Now, Scarlet and Violet O2 Paldea evolved 510 boxes, and here we are again, 350 6 weeks ago and 500 today. So we're literally looking at another 28-30% gainer over the last 6 weeks. And it's reasonable to assume these boxes are out of print. Or if they do see another reprint, it will only be slight. Scarlet and Violet '03 Obsidian Flames, $330. And of course, this was a Charizard set with some very, very premium Charizard alt art cards. 6 weeks ago, we'll even take it at this hump here, $250, and today 330. So up about 30% in the last 6 weeks. Golly, I love these markets. Paradox Rift, 260 today, another parabolic move from 210 to 260, so closer to 25% gain over the last 6 weeks. These markets are just absolutely nuts right now. And like I said, do not be discouraged if let's say the Fed, everyone at the Fed hit their head really hard and they decided not to continue pumping up the market and they said no rate cut, you know. Well, we would expect these prices to go sideways. Maybe even with how everybody expects certain rate cuts now, you could see a situation where they cut a quarter point and the market goes sideways. Do not be discouraged if these markets go into a prolonged period of sideways movement. And by prolonged, I mean 6 months. Maybe these could go sideways or pretty close to sideways with only slight upward movement for 6 months. But just keep in mind, these are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun. Temporal forces, $260. And 6 weeks ago, we were at 230. So you're starting to see these products that really face a higher risk of significant reprints not taking the same market movements because first of all there's still more of these boxes around. The potential for recent reprints or upcoming reprints is higher for all of these, and so the market motion is a little more muted. 313, 320 once you add in the shipping for these Twilight Masquerade boxes. I got a couple of these earlier this year back around the 230s, 240s after we got a decent little reprint. Let's see, where was that? Yeah, it was probably right through here, so spiked up and then it came down into the low 200s. Yeah, that was that little reprint that we saw. And you see how it's just an almost forgotten blip on the plot. And in the last 6 weeks, it's gone from this 275 to about 320. Very good performance. And this is one where I would really, really think twice about buying a lot of boxes at this price because man, it still feels like the entire market has a chance of rolling over in the near future. But golly, if they cut a half point, if they cut a half point, it's just gasoline on everything. Ooh, Stellar Crown, $250. And again, you just see the motion over the last 3 months up from 210 to 250. So another 25% gainer over that point. Surging Sparks, $280. And this is where you start to say this was a 2025 product. This is a current year standard Pokemon product. And it's $280. Here's where you really see the screeching insanity of the market, where it's at such a fever pitch rate for these products. And you've got to say, man, if Pokemon USA gets this back onto a printing press, are they going to print for a month straight? I mean, they could. It would crush the market for this product, and it would give a little relief to other products. Man, at some point they will overshoot the print run numbers and the prices will come down, but golly, it could still be a while given how nutty things are. Journey Together, $250. What's the lowest this has been in its life? So post release, 208. 217. Yeah. So it got all the way down into the low 200s for a little while post release. Recently spiked up to 260 and it's come down. It's come down a mere $10. Looking very, very good. And $400 for Destined Rivals, guys. I know it's Team Rocket. Everybody loves Team Rocket. Team Rocket sets are always going to perform, but this is the most recent standard release. Yes, Black Bolt and White Flare were after this, but $400 for the standard release and the most recent one. This is a terrifying price. This is terrifying. If you're buying this for any reason other than to just frantically rip it open to get the cards that you love, man, this becomes a terrifying proposition because the downside risk on a box like this is so, so high. It's so high. And, like I said throughout this whole thing, we're coming up to this Fed rate decision and it has the potential to just pour gasoline on the market. On the other hand, maybe the Fed is way too late at this point. Maybe they're way too late. Maybe the jobs market is going to roll over. Maybe the inflation will remain sticky. And maybe when a recession eventually comes, if it comes soon enough, and it drags down the TCG market, it drags down the Pokemon market, then we could see a lot of relief on these and all those reprints that Pokemon USA is committed to so that the printers can go out and confidently buy paper and buy ink and schedule press time and schedule labor and all the rest. Those will come flooding into the market, bringing way, way, way too much supply and crash the prices. We could still end up with that future. It's very, very hard to see from this point right now because it's as if all of these indicators, all of these causes that are out there in the future, they all rest on a knife's edge right now. And that knife's edge is, do we get the quarter point cut, half point cut? Do we go into a recession? Do the jobs numbers continue to deteriorate? Does the inflation remain sticky? And how long can the consumer keep standing to pay $400 for a Destined Rivals box? Guys, like I always say, Final Trade was born in the bear market of 21 and 22, lived through it, came out the other side, and has absolutely thrived through this bull market. The next bear market does not scare me one bit. I look forward to it to stack deep for the next bull market after that. So, like I've been doing for a while now, doing these market walks every month. It's good to just come through, lay your eyes on all the prices, recalibrate your mental model of where the market is price wise on these products across these eras, and just see how things have gone. Lots of parabolic moves recently. If it's in your interest, you might think about selling a few boxes just to lock in some gains and reduce your overall risk. Might not be a bad time to do that if that's in the cards for your long timeline goals. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.